Okay, so what we want to do is create some sort of opening animation for project number one of our class. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to make it an ActionScript 3 file, and that'll give me the stage. What I want to do, I'm thinking, is animate some sort of text. So I want to show you how to do that. So I'll type this in, your name, and we'll start playing around with the size and the color. I'll just leave it red and get the character controls out, and then we'll change the font size. I'll make it a lot bigger, and we'll leave the color red. And the next thing I want to do is break this apart. So I hit Control or Command B once, and then I hit it again. So I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit now. And these are kind of close to each other, so I'm going to choose the E. And I want to separate all these into movie clips. So I'm going to choose F8, call this letter Y, and make it a movie clip. And I'm going to leave the registration right in the center. And then I'll grab the O, grab the U, grab the R, grab the N, grab the A, grab the M, and grab the letter E. Now in this case I didn't have any repeats, but if I would have had a repeat, I could have just put a digit after it. How many? Each symbol has to have its own unique name to be in the library. So if we take a look at the library right now, here we have all the letters and they're all individual. The next thing I want to do is I'll zoom out of the stage a little bit, mess around. Well, first I'll mess around with the kerning and make sure it's where I want it to be. Like this Y could be moved over a little bit more. So what we're going to do is zoom out and zoom out once again. I want to animate these characters so that they fall from the top of the screen or come up from the bottom of the screen, and each letter will come up individually. So in order to do that, I need to separate all these items from the timeline into their own timeline part. So there's a command under modify, and it's called distribute the layers, and it'll take anything that's on one layer and then make it all stretched across other layers. This was the original layer, now it's empty. I'm going to delete it. So now each one of these characters is on its own layer, and I can zoom in again. Let's go ahead and have that animate up from the bottom within about 25 frames per letter. So I selected all these, held on my option key and dragged it across, or alt key, dragged it across and dropped it in frame 25. Now I'll go back to the first frame and I'll create a motion tween. Okay, so what we want to do is have it end up at that position. So working in the first frame, I'm going to zoom out, grab these characters and slide them down to here. And now if I scrub the playhead back and forth, you can see that they zoom up. But I want these letters to come up one at a time. So well, let's first see how long this takes. So, alright, that's a pretty long animation for this. Maybe I'll shorten it out. I'll grab a selection of about 5 frames or 10 frames and I'll hit Shift F5 to delete them. And then I'll try it again. Alright, that's a little bit better. So now the secret to get them to come up one at a time is just to slide these things over. Maybe I'll overlap it by 2 frames. And I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it in the right order of the characters. So I come over here. And slide this over here about 2 frames in. Slide this here, look at 2 frames in. Slide this here, 2 frames in. And then I have one more to go. So now if I play the animation, it'll look like this. Trouble is when it gets to the end of the animation, the letters disappear. So to prevent that from happening, what I'm going to do is just select all these frames right here and hit F5 to extend it all out. And now when I play the animation, the character will stay on the stage. And that's how you'd animate it. Now, I want to put some blank frames in to the last spot, or maybe a stop command. It just depends what I want to do with my animation. I'm going to go to the top and we'll put in a stop command. Make a layer for actions. And add a layer here. And open up my actions window. And just type in stop. It should be good to go. She'll stop at the end. The final thing we could do is maybe add a background to this. So I'll grab a new layer. I'll call this background. Now to save some space in the timeline, let's get rid of the actions window. I can grab all these and I can dump them into a folder. So I'll create a new folder, place it at the top here, and I'll call this letters. And I can grab all these and slide it into the letter. Notice there's a little tiny line there. Now I can close that down, and it just makes my timeline a little less cluttered. I can also lock these two layers down. So the final thing I want to do now is add a background. So I'll just add a gradient. So I have a linear gradient here. Make it about the size of the screen. I don't really need a stroke, so I'll double click on the stroke and delete it. And now I'll take my gradient transform tool and I'll spin the gradient. Probably have to zoom out a little bit more. So it's 90 degrees. Hold on the shift key, grab it here, and then I can reduce it. Now I can go ahead and grab different colors. Let's make it a yellow and then a slightly darker orange. And now when I play it, I have that gradient in the background. You could actually use anything you want as the background. You could have a bitmap in there, whatever you want. So the final thing that I want to do is once the letters are all in, and in this case it happens in frame 96, it looks like, 98, I'm going to have a line come in or a graphic come in off the side. So I'll add a new layer, and at this point this is where I want the graphic to come in. Now I'm going to extend out these frames here by choosing anywhere in the where the playhead plays and hitting F5, and I can extend that. So that looks good enough. I'll zoom in here, and off stage we'll create a shape. Maybe we'll make it of the red again, and I'll make it an underline. So I'll draw the shape, have it go off screen, zoom in. Again, I should have eliminated the stroke. I'll lock down the background because I don't need that to be messed around with. So double click on the stroke now. Delete it. Now I'll make this into a movie clip. I'll just call this line. And I'm going to need a keyframe here. That's the last spot where it comes in. Come back over to the first keyframe, create a motion tween, and slide this over. And now when I play it, the letters will come up and the line will enter from stage left. And there you have a simple animation for your project. Thanks.